our old AM site that we sold is a skirted antenna, and I was able to work out a deal to put up a multi-bay antenna there and upgrade from a couple hundred watts to a couple thousand watts for our aux. So that'll be nice.
Looks like we're streaming, so let me do a little stream sharing here.
And now that I've got 3 new transmitters that I just unloaded.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'm not sure if we'll make that part of this show or not. Will you have a whole show's worth of story to tell about that?
Probably not. I mean, okay. I can incorporate it into something else, but it's an interesting little, interesting story. May want to, if we have a couple minutes today, or if we end up
since we're talking about
extra minutes today.
Kirk.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting story. It's just not long, but it's interesting.
Let's see. Let me get this.
I'm glad it's done.
A lot of driving. How many miles did you drive?
A lot of driving. 2,800.
Okay.
Like it's 1,400 one way.
Was that in South Texas?
Yeah, down near Houston.
Mm.
Wow.
It's actually south of Houston.
Did you say was there a Bay City? Was that it?
Bay City. Yep.
Okay. I thought that was up north with the rollers.
No. Yeah, that's Bay City, Michigan. Same amount of meth heads, I think.
Golly. Hang on, I'm almost done sharing all this. And I'll put Chris Tarr's name on there and also John Bisset's name on there. Oh, Bisset, you're not a member of the broadcasting club. It looks like.
John, are you coming to the WBA again this year?
Yes, sir. I will be there. First
Awesome.
time in many, many years, Chris. So I'm looking forward to it.
Has it? I thought it's been. I didn't think it was that long.
Yeah, no, it's been
good.
a few years.
Awesome. I actually should know that because I'm on the committee, but I.
Chris, I don't remember if I applied or not, but somehow I'm not a speaker this year.
I don't know if you did or not. I don't remember seeing anything
because I wasn't aware of it. Oh, maybe they just didn't want to make me aware.
Well, we did shorten it to from 3 days to 2, so there's a little more limited slots available. So that could have been 2.
Gotcha. Okay, everybody's tagged and marked everywhere they can be. So that's good. We'll say hello to everybody who is watching the live stream here on YouTube or on Facebook. We're getting ready to get started here in about a minute and a half.
This year, too, we just decided to partner up with the Minnesota Broadcasters Association. And so we're starting to make it a Midwest regional kind of thing.
Oh, excellent idea.
Cool. Would it make sense to partner with Illinois as well?
Yeah, I mean we're looking at that. Anybody who's interested, we certainly get a lot of people from down there. So, and they all, as you know, being down in Quincy, those people in Illinois are certainly nice.
By the way, we just found out that the SBE awarded this EAS at the Edge with with their technical achievement award.
Oh, cool.
Their technology award, yeah.
Technology award, yeah.
Also, Larry Wilkins, who I'll be seeing in a couple weeks, was given an award.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay. It is. We got 10 seconds, top of the hour. Suncast, you ready to go? You got the pictures handy? All righty. We will be jumping to the Nautel ad pretty directly. And okay. Should I be nervous? Here we go. Episode 705 of This Week in Radio Tech, and we'll start the show. Woohoo! We'll start the show in 3, 2. Hey, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech, the show where we talk about everything from the microphone, rather unusual one, to the light bulb at the top of the tower, a rather ordinary one there if you're into red lights. Hey, I'm Kirk Harnack, your host. It's our 705th episode of This Week in Radio Tech. I have been doing this longer than my son's been alive. We've been doing this for 15 years. He's 13. So, wow. How about that? And we look forward to bringing this to you every week or almost every week. We took a summer off years ago, and that was a mistake. So we're not taking any time off at all. I'm Kirk Harnack in the Telos Alliance studio here in Nashville, Tennessee, where it's a sweltering hot summer day, but absolutely gorgeous outside. That's my weather report. And coming to you from Mukwonago, Wisconsin, just outside of Milwaukee. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my friend and yours, the ever-effervescent Christopher Tarr. Hey, Chris, good to see you.
Hey, what's going on, Kirk? Nice day today here. It's that's right. I'm effervescent. Look, 74 today. Starting to get some clouds in here. We've gotten a lot of rain. Of course, there's been a lot of rain everywhere, but it actually today was the first day where the humidity was down, and I went outside. I was like, oh, this is nice. So hopefully, we're in for a good stretch of nice weather here. But otherwise, back from a trip, lots of stuff going on. It's been nutty. So I'm glad to be able to take a few minutes out here with you and John today.
Good. All right. And speaking of John, you said his name, and here he is, ladies and gentlemen. It's my colleague and everybody's friend. It's John Bisset. Hey, John, welcome in.
Thank you very much, Kirk, and good afternoon. It's good to have some time with you guys today.
John, you're in a different spot than where I usually see you when you join us in company meetings. Are you at home or somewhere else?
On the other side of my desk. Yeah, I got that light that you were talking about, and figured that it'll work out good. And there's some Telos gear behind me. I'm not all set up, but a little bit.
Wait a minute, you've got a light, like one of those ring lights like all the cute TikTok girls use? Is that what you got?
Yeah, that's what you had me buy. So you can see me better.
It's not helping, John. It's not helping.
Well,
so Kirk is a cute TikTok girl, is what you're saying.
There we go. That's right.
Oh my gosh.
You guys talking about heat. I was in California last week. It was over 100 degrees in Northern California all last week.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
It's hot everywhere. We're having quite a summer.
Yeah, indeed. We had a heck of a summer. I don't know, around 2007 or 8. It was here in Nashville. It was well over 100 degrees many days in a row, like on the order of 7 to 10 days in a row. It was in the 100 and teens, or at least 107, 108. And that wasn't the heat index. That was the temperature. Yeah. Hope we don't get that again. Hey, well, we're here to have This Week in Radio Tech, our show where about 2 to 3 times a year we have John Bisset come on, and John, you're the columnist that writes this Workbench column in Radio World magazine, and tell me, for those who don't know or who for somehow miss your column, tell me what Workbench is all about.
It's a really neat column, Kirk, and it's even though I write it, it's a bunch of great ideas from all of our engineering colleagues that are out there reading it. The Workbench column has been around over 30 years. I think we're in our 33rd year now, and it's one of the things that's really neat is if you don't subscribe to Radio World, you can get it on online, or you can get a printed copy. It is free. So head to radioworld.com and you'll see a little tab there that says subscribe, fill in all the information. Hey, a little hint, give your home address, because if it shows up to the radio station, someone else is going to grab it. So if you have it sent to your home, you'll be sure to get the paper. But we're in every issue. And Kirk, one of the things that's kind of neat about this, we were just talking before the show about projects and things. If you come up with an idea that we put in Workbench, the fact that you're published in a national magazine like Radio World, you get SBE credit for your recertification. So a really neat way to contribute to helping other engineers with neat ideas. but at the same time, get some credit for your recertification efforts.
Wait a minute. So you mean if I send you a good idea, you'll mention my name, I can get recertification credit. It goes in Radio World where you mention my name. Paul McLean's fantastic publication, Radio World. I mean, there's fame and glory if I just give you an idea.
That is right, and you have done that in the past, and you have gotten all that fame and glory. You just didn't know about it.
Well, Chris, this sounds like a really a good path to stardom, doesn't it?
Oh, fame, glory, women, you name it. I mean, you got to fight them off after that.
Especially with my tip that's coming up about sandpaper. You got to fight them off with sandpaper.
There you go.
Okay.
That's right. Nothing sexier than a guy with a pocket protector.
That's right. And sandpaper. That's right. Hey, well, John Bisset is going to have a whole lot of good advice, and Chris Tarr is going to give us a couple of highlights from his recent 2,800-mile travel menagerie, in which he went and picked. I took a bunch of equipment from a radio station. I hope it got paid for. That's all I hope. With last thing we need here is somebody that's running from the law as a co-host on my podcast. Hey, our show is brought to you in part by Nautel, and we've been telling you about this for a couple of months and it's absolutely valid. You need to check this thing out. Talk to your general manager, your station owner. Hey, maybe you're the station owner. Well, pay attention because Nautel is offering this HD digital radio test drive. And what does that mean? Well, HD radio can be a little spendy to get into, and Nautel has worked with the people at Ubiquity to get the cost down. Now, it's not free, but maybe you need an upgrade anyway, and this will let you additionally try HD radio on your station. It's intended to break down the barriers that keep many broadcasters from trying HD radio. The HD transmission has the potential to create presence on the car dashboard. And that's more important now than ever because there are so many choices on new car dashboards. It can help your station stay competitive in this field of alternate media choices. It's based on Nautel's software-based air chain technology. The HD radio test drive allows you, the broadcaster, to try HD radio transmission in your market for up to 6 months to try to get new listeners, share new content out there and new revenue potential without needing to install and purchase $40,000 or $50,000 worth of HD gear. And think about your market. Maybe there's some unserved or underserved listeners. Maybe you've got a growing Hispanic population. Maybe you've got some other minority population that you want to provide some programming for. Maybe there's a big hole in your market for, hey, I don't know, and I'm just making fun here, but for polka music. Yeah, maybe your country competitor is not doing all that good a job and you want to, split their audience. Well, maybe you can do that with HD radio. It's an easy, minimal cost option to turn on HD radio. So you can test that new revenue generating opportunities. You can experiment with new formats, maybe an all comedy format. Yeah, that's been done here and there. Different kinds of oldies and 80s. How about yacht rock? That makes Kirk Harnack really happy. That make my socks roll up and down if you do a yacht rock format. Tell me about it. You can see the impact on listener retention. You can counter competing alternate media. And here's what you need to get started. You lease or purchase a Nautel GV2 transmitter. That's an FM transmitter, the GV2. Or if you have a GV transmitter, you can upgrade the internals to a GV2. You need an Xperi main station or equivalent license, and you need a signed trial agreement with Nautel. Plus, you need some content. Anywhere from 1 to 4 channels. One channel, well, you're already doing that. Add some channels. Get some extra programming on there and see what you can do with it. Check it out at Nautel.com. Nautel.com is the website. Thanks a lot, Nautel, for really making an effort to help broadcasters out. And hey, even if you just need a transmitter and not even HD, Nautel.com is a great place to go. A lot of my transmitters are Nautel, and they have been just fabulous. Thanks a lot, Nautel, for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. All right, John Bisset, Chris Tarr are along.
In
Chris,
hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah.
In Wisconsin, we love our polka music, so let's not be bashing. My first job was on the air at a polka station.
Hey,
So,
Chris, mine too. Not on the air,
Yeah.
but I played a polka music all afternoon on a Sunday afternoon, and now there are a lot of followers to that.
Yeah, so there, Kirk.
Next time I'll poke fun at like a bluegrass format because I've worked at stations that were bluegrass on Sunday afternoon. And after 12 minutes, they all sounded the same for the next 4 hours on the bluegrass.
That's the thing about the polka music is all the songs were like 2 minute and a half, 2 minutes long. So the studio, we actually had 3 record players so that we could work for it. They're all like 2.5 minutes, all end cold. It's the way it works.
Wow.
But Kirk, that's a really great idea, though, as far as bringing up other formats. There are a lot of foreign language broadcasters that remember they used to start on the SCAs, and now they're looking for something else, and the HD is a great idea. So get some money for the radio station through these other broadcasts.
It sure is. And here in Nashville, almost, not quite, but almost half of the stations on the AM dial are Spanish language now here in Nashville. And there's a couple of FMs as well. They tend to be low power or translators or something. But other languages certainly are becoming popular. And there's music formats that are underserved. Like I said, yacht rock. Kirk will listen. All right. Hey, John Bisset, you've got a bunch of pictures to share, and every picture has an idea behind it. So we better just crank it up and get rolling. Chris, please interrupt, ask questions whenever something strikes you, and we should just get going. I know Suncast is standing by with his finger on the picture button. So, John, let's see what's first. How about it?
Okay, I've got a few pictures a little later on with what happens with overheating, and this is just a neat idea. There's not a problem when you're using the X nodes to stack them all together, but that is a heat sink in the front, and you're going to want to make sure that things stay cool at the transmitter site or at the studio site for that matter. And since when you buy an X node, these half rack adapters come with it, rather than racking everything up and crunching it all together so that it's a nice big heat generator. Having some space between the nodes is a great idea.
Exactly what I do at my stations, and I don't think I have 4 in any one place, but I do have a place where they have 3, and I've staggered them just like that, and they all remain super cool that way. But if you stack them on top of each other, the heat does build up, and I'm they can do that, but hey, why not make it easy on yourself?
Well, there you go. And Kirk, I think the other thing that was kind of neat about this engineer putting the IP address, you can certainly get it from the front panel of the X node, but in an emergency, you need to know what the IP address is instantly. There it is on the label right next to the X node. So, you're all squared away.
Good deal. All right, what's next?
This is one of my favorites. Yeah. Okay,
What?
this is for our friends that have BE transmitters. Broadcast electronics transmitters, the tube type transmitters, have a keep alive battery that keeps all of the settings set once you set what the power levels are supposed to be and so forth. The problem is that the battery is kind of hard to get in there. It's actually terminals that are on a printed circuit board, and it's real easy to mess those terminals up when you're trying to slip the battery out. This is Clay Freinwald from out in Washington. He came up with this idea, just real simple, and you plug one end into the socket on the transmitter and then run the cable out and just hook the battery to it. Real easy for you to then change the battery. Don't forget about these batteries, because one of the biggest problems is if the power goes down, the battery is supposed to keep all the settings current. If the batteries are no good, if they haven't been changed, everything's going to go to zero. You're going to try to be turning the transmitter on and nothing's going to happen. It's because the battery has died. So this is one of those things once a year at least. Make sure that you change the batteries in all of the keep alive batteries that are in the transmitters. And this is a neat way of making sure that you'll be able to get the battery in and out of the terminals real quickly.
I'm sure Chris feels the same way, but I don't care what anybody says. Once in a while, Clay Freinwald has a great idea.
Every once in a while, yeah. He's
Clay's a great guy.
He's kind of smart, Clay. Yeah, he's kind of smart. K7CR, not a vanity call, he always likes to say.
That's right.
All right, what's next? What's next?
Okay, this is something that's kind of neat, since we're talking about inside the transmitter primarily, but it also has to do with studios. It's hot out there. You're going to have a lot of condensation building up, And what this is at the bottom of the condensate drain here, this engineer has put a water sensor. That's what that little round device is at the bottom, and it
Oh.
runs over to the remote control. He also has it set up so that it turns the air conditioner off, and then the air conditioner is tied, the temperature sensor is tied to the remote control as well. So the idea is that, hey, if the air conditioning goes off, it's going to start getting hot. Things aren't going to be very happy, but at least you're not going to be coming in and the whole place is flooded. So, one of the things that you can do to prevent this is to open the little clean out valve at the very top there, and pour a little bit of bleach in that. That will keep the algae from forming inside. They also make these pan discs that you can buy. You go to the Home Depot or Lowe's, the big box stores. They have these little tablets that you can drop in the condensate pan that will prevent
Hmm.
the formation of the algae. And that's what the problem is. The algae forms and then it blocks the condensate drain and everything overflows. And the problem is that at a lot of
Mm.
transmitter sites, these transmitters, or I'm sorry, the air conditioners are suspended above the transmitters. So that's one place that you don't want water flowing, out of the condensate pan down into the transmitter itself. Call a lot of problem.
The while the sensor is a good idea to let you know, but in a sense, you're being told too late that something's
Yes.
wrong, because then by then the air conditioner has shut off by what you said, with what's hooked up there. And thank you for the idea on the bleach and the tablets. I got that happening at my own house. I got two air conditioners with long condensate runs,
Mhm.
and both of them will get clogged up from time to time. Silly me, the best I've been able to do is unhook them and literally blow
Blow. Yeah.
and blow out
There you
whatever's in
go.
there. But it's the algae. I'm so glad you said that, I mean, and they're going to wash my mouth because whatever was on it. And so, but the thing, I wonder if it would make sense to tap off above the U joint, but below the pan, and have that would be like an overflow, and have that go to another pan or pot, or another outlet. I don't know. To basically have two
Well,
outlets. If one
you
gets
know,
clogged, you got it going some other way.
Kirk, that's a good idea because that's the pan then that could have the water sensor if you're going to have that.
Yes,
So
that pan can
if
have
the
the water
overflow
sensor.
gets water in it. So anyway,
Yeah.
good.
Chris, do you have this problem up there, and have you solved it somehow?
It's the same thing where the sensor kicks off the AC unit. We
Yeah.
had one that we actually had a blower, the blower actually hanging from the ceiling at a transmitter site.
Hmm.
So the way it worked was there was a pan that caught the condensate, then went out a drain. So we had a sensor there too that, as soon as that pan started to back up, it shut everything down and tripped an alarm. So that seems to be the pretty common solution, is just have the alarm. Of course, any site that has air conditioning should also have, some sort of emergency exhaust fan or something that'll kick on,
Yes.
to at least keep you limping along.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Good point. All right. What's next? What's the next? Sun? Oh, okay.
We got a few. Well, there are a couple of them here, and I'm sorry, I don't think they're going to be in order, but we'll take a look at this, and then I'll explain them as we go along. This is a equipment rack, and those are LED lighting strips. This
Oh,
is
yes.
a
Okay.
rack that our friends at EMF put together, and what they do, since they've got these racks in small transmitter buildings and small shelters, there may not be a lot of light. You can see how bright that light is, and what it does is it gives, when the equipment is all screwed in place, it gives the engineer the ability to see what's going on inside there.
I'm glad you point this out. So far, the several EMF or K-Love installations I've been to have done this exact same thing. They put those LED strips inside the equipment rack in the
Yes,
back, in that
right.
ledge, all where the door jamb is, and they just leave them on. At least ones I've seen, they just leave them on all the time. I mean, what's a draw? 4 watts? It's just it's crazy
Yeah,
small.
if even that, you're right.
Yeah. And this is a great. I've been meaning to go get some LED strips. When my son was little, we had them, in his bedroom. It's cool.
Sure,
But
sure.
yeah, neat. That's a great idea. Great
Well,
idea.
and Kirk, this picture is looking from the front of the equipment rack into the rack itself. So, as you said, it's lining around the outside of the rack, but it's on the inside of the back. So
Yeah.
it's like you were holding a whole bunch of flashlights shining into the rack to see what equipment is there. It's a really neat
Yep.
idea.
It is. It's fantastic. It works well. Let you see what you plug it into. All right. What's next here?
There you go. Well,
Oh, that's
you can take
pretty.
these strips and do go a little further. In this case, this engineer laid these underneath his studio furniture, and
Uh huh.
he tied red ones to the microphone. So it's normally this shade of blue. It's really pretty cool looking, but when the mic goes on, it changes to red. So,
Oh my
if
gosh.
somebody's walking in, they walk in the studio, they see, oh no, it's red. I know to keep my mouth shut, because the mics are live. So, it just kind of a neat idea. These LED strips have just been amazing with what you're able to do, and it's like your mind can just fly off in 100 different directions.
And they're so inexpensive. And one of our dealer friends, Broadcast Depot in Miami, that years like 5-6 years before COVID, they were showing off studio furniture that had the strip lighting. It was indirect, but it
Yep.
was there to offset the countertops and looked good. And when of course, when you turn your mic on, it changed color. But you know what? See, I'm glad you pointed out this was in the studio. Of course, as I see Rubicon there, so I guess it's an SAS power supply or something right there.
Mhm.
But this could be you could do this at a transmitter site just for the good looks, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Uh, yeah. Or hey, tie it to the transmitter being on. You know,
Well, and
uh,
Kirk, I think one time when we did this show together, I showed one. It was Greater Media that had done this with their transmitters. They had a row of green lights above each BE transmitter, and the transmitter that was on when the high voltage was applied, that line of green lights was on. LEDs were on, so you could walk in instantly and know which transmitter is operating. So yeah, little things. I mean, you're right. They don't cost a lot, but boy, it sure, when you're off the air, it lets you walk in and find out what's going on real quick.
Chris, there's got to be a way to do the following. See, years ago, I was at a station that Sam Phillips owned, and sometimes he would show up unannounced. And I told one of the disc jockeys, I said, well, you see this meter in the rack right here? No, it was just an old something that didn't do anything. I said, see this meter? This is a Sam Phillips proximity meter. You need to keep your eye on this, because when he's driving up the road out here, this meter will start to rise up, and it'll warn you that he's coming in, and you can put your beer and your liquor away or share or get ready to share it with Sam. So what you could do is tie these LEDs and their color to like an air tag that you toss in the trunk of the GM's car.
Okay, now you're getting a little wild there.
Oh
Now you're
boy.
getting a little crazy.
You think? I don't know. Sounds like fun to me. Guys, we're going to take our break right here. Be thinking of how you might. I'm sure there's ways to use if this then that. The web service to interface that. By the way, I know that EMF has maybe still does use if this then that to connect things that really can't connect to each other on site, so they make them talk that way. Oh well. Anyway, hey, our show This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part by Broadcast Bionics and the amazing, really cool Camera One system. You talk about something cool. This camera system will highlight whoever's talking, and if people are arguing back and forth, bantering, it'll show you a wide shot. It's so cool. Check it out right here from Camera One.
Camera One from Broadcast Bionics. Designed to bring video to your audio content. Visualizing radio and podcasts for social media. Camera One can automatically create, capture and brand professionally switched video for live streaming or upload, making your production shareable. Control and configure using a web browser on any device. Camera One is available as a 4-camera or 8-camera system using the Blackmagic A10 Mini range, including the A10 Mini Extreme. You can use cameras to suit your studio and your budget. You'll need one camera for a studio wide shot, and usually one camera per microphone. A standard multi-channel sound card or IP driver monitors audio from each studio microphone, and we work natively with Axia systems. Ideally, this will be a post-fader feed from each mic, although you can use pre-fade audio or a mic split if that's all you have available. These audio levels are used to intelligently switch the video feed when each contributor is talking. You can also group microphones together into one shot and use the audio from a mixer's aux bus. You can use Camera One's auto switch feature, or disable it and switch using the on-screen buttons or the buttons on the ATEM. Recordings can automatically start when you tell the system you're on the air. This on-air indication can be linked to your studio's red lights via IP or an Avantec ADAM GPIO interface. You can quickly browse all the videos that have been automatically created during your broadcast, download them and post. Camera One is a user-installable system. You'll need a good spec Windows 10 PC, i7 with plenty of storage and 16 gig of RAM. It's better if this machine isn't used for anything else. Remember, you can control the software in a web browser on another device on your network. Camera One, a thrifty way of creating scroll-stopping video from your show or podcast from Broadcast Bionics.
These guys have so much cool stuff in Broadcast Bionics, including the virtual rack that virtualizes your broadcast infrastructure, different products from different manufacturers. It's like an app store for virtualized broadcast products. Check them out at bionics.co.uk or from any Broadcast Bionics dealer. Thanks a lot, Broadcast Bionics, for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. It's Kirk Harnack. Chris Tarr is here, and John Bisset is here. John, we got plenty more pictures to run through and ideas to talk about. So why don't we get right on with it? Oh,
here we go. This is a close-up of the LEDs.
Yes, indeed.
We can go on to the next one. There we go.
And I guess you can just use the adhesive backing that's on those LED strips just to stick them in there, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
We can go to the next one. Kirk, this is one, it's not the transmitter site, but I had to throw this in because this is a big mistake that we always forget about. You know, where do you locate the XLR? Well, you don't want to locate it so when you turn the mic as this is being turned, that boom is being turned, look what it's going to do. It's going to rip the cable right out of the connector. So keep that in mind when you're doing your studios. Align the mic arms where the talent's going to sit, and then decide where you're going to be putting the XLR connector.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What's next here? Oh, yeah.
And this is our little strip of LED. It's just a little box, and it's a long strip inside of the LEDs. So so you pick that up and fly away with it. So
I got I've bought a few of these that were. I don't know. I want to say too cute by half in terms of how you control them. They had an app, on the servers in China, and you punch some buttons on you can make them any color. I'd like to get one that just has some local pins, right? For controlling on, off, and color. I wonder if anybody has a suggestion for a brand name or a model that would be, just locally controlled.
Yeah, that would be good. And you think about it, that's something you could probably tie into one of the not a bot yet relay controllers. So you're not sitting there trying to solder little tiny pins together. So,
or it's, I guess, look, this is just LEDs. They need some power, maybe some current limiting, or that may be built into the strip. But Chris, maybe you have some experience with these, but you don't actually have to use probably a controller that may come with a set of LEDs like this. You could just hook your own power supply or relays or transistor feeds, whatever you might need to power them.
Sure. Yeah, I mean the controller is just basically a relay, and the strips are all kind of commodity strips, and the contacts go inside of the box. You can reverse engineer that pretty quickly.
Yeah, good point. All right, what's next?
This is one of my favorites. So it's a Lazy Susan holding the automation computer monitor. And the idea here was, in the morning, they had a guy who had a board op, and the talent sat across from the board op. So he rotated the monitor around so that he could fire off events in the automation. when his shift is over and they went back to a combo operation with the operator and the talent being one and the same, they just rotate the thing around, and it was a neat idea. If people are looking at ways to save money, well, here's a way you're not buying a second automation computer for a 4 hour show in the morning. You just put it on one of these lazy Susans that runs maybe $5, $10, and just rotate it around to wherever it's going to be needed.
That is a good idea. These days, I guess I would have put 2 monitors and 2 keyboards or something like that in there.
Sure,
But
sure.
keep that in mind. The lazy Susan idea can be useful, if not for this exact application. Certainly, there may be others. I'd love to have a transmitter on a lazy Susan so I could spin it around and get to the back.
Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, especially when you've only got 2 feet behind the transmitter to get into it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Now we just need a coax connector that'll spin easily as well, under
There you
power.
go.
Ugh. Okay, what's next? Oh, okay. There
This
you
is
go.
just
That's it
another
spun
picture.
around.
It was just it moving in the other direction. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
This is a
All
neat
right.
idea that we don't think about. So we put in new PCs and we don't remember when we put them in. And PCs can be
Mhm.
shoved under cabinets or in racks or whatever, and they're forgotten about. How old is it? When does it need to be upgraded? And just taking 5 minutes to print out a little label and put it on the back, and also maybe tell what the PC is used for. In this case, FM air. It's just a neat idea. And I think, Kirk, that's probably one of the biggest pluses in the Workbench column is ways to make your life simpler and make your job easier. And by going and labeling things like this, yeah, it takes 5, 10 minutes to go through and label everything. UPS batteries are another one, knowing when they need to be changed. But you've got so much going on, you forget about what you need to remember. And having little reminders like this on the back of your computers or on the UPSs or whatever they may be, anywhere where something needs to be changed, just helps you become a more efficient engineer.
You know, Chris may have some more experience than I with the following, but some of my radio stations are literally a 7-hour drive away. And sure, we use FaceTime sometimes, to help a local person identify a piece of gear and move the correct cable from one thing to another. But there's so many times when one of the biggest challenges is just getting them to find the piece of gear that I want them to find. Because to me, I know what it is, but they don't look at this stuff. And so we label things quite clearly. I got to hand it to my business partner, Larry Fuss. That guy labels everything really well. And so you go to Larry Fuss's house in the guest bedroom, one switch says light, the other one says fan.
Fan.
And brother labels right there on the light switch. And so and on the outlet, switched, unswitched, right? He'll label that too. He'll label which little wall wart goes with what device. This one's for the brother printer. This one's for this or that device. So it can be difficult to talk somebody, especially the transmitter side. Okay, Jim, and he's got the transmitter side, and he's defined the MikroTik router. What's that? And Chris, do you have some advice along those lines? Because you deal with people that have to go do stuff.
Oh yeah, well, there's a couple things. First of all, is give the racks numbers, so you're able to say, okay, rack number 3, and the issue there is because otherwise you're going, okay, the second rack from the right, from your right, that kind of thing. The other thing I do is I have cameras at all these sites, so I can actually watch them doing the work, and I can say, okay, up, down, up, whatever. And then kind of along the lines of labeling is IP address schemes. And, oftentimes I'll have them printed on the front, but also we have all these markets, and basically all the devices have the same IP scheme. So our IPs go 10.1 dot, and then each market has an octet, and then the last octet is the type of device. So like 10.1 whatever 50 is going to be a Sage NDEC. 10.1 something 75 is a printer. So it really helps to work through that and know that, I can hop on and know what anything is at any market, as well as anybody helping me. So that also helps in terms of having people on the ground help you out, because everything is the same IP address except for the third number, which is the market number. So along the lines of labeling, we try to do that consistently as well, so that anybody can walk into any site and start working.
Yeah. Good point. I like it. All right. What's
And
this,
speaking of
John?
labels, well, what this is an engineer who has labeled what the normal readings should be on this test meter, on this Gates transmitter. Again, you can sit there. If you've done it time and time again, it's not a problem. But if you've got somebody coming in for the very first time, or you have a program director who's coming in and you need to use his eyes or her eyes to tell you what the meter's doing or what the piece of equipment is doing, making it as simple as possible for them really makes your life easier, just as Chris was saying. So what they've done is just marked on each one of the test meter positions what the normal reading should be. And that's
Now you got to teach
probably
them how to read them.
well, I was going to
Yes,
say
he's got to read them
that's
a
where Chris,
multi-range meter.
but that's where Chris's camera idea comes in really well,
Yeah.
being able to
Yeah.
have that to see. So if they can't read the meter, you're able to.
And what I like about that is that saves you from having to track down the test data too. Because oftentimes if you don't have those labels and it's something new, and I run into that a lot with contract stations and things like that. I really don't know what they're normally supposed to be. So I'm having to scramble to find test data to figure out what these are supposed to be. So to have those on the transmitter is a great idea.
Yeah, and the test data was, of course, years ago at the factory, and they might be the same, but they might be a little bit different too. In installing the transmitter at your place, especially if you've changed frequencies, or got a different tube that doesn't quite perform as well.
And I think what it would end up being, Kirk, would just be what the normal or nominal values would be, so that you know that, hey, in this position, we're not seeing anything, or it's very high, or it's too low. So it's the idea.
Yeah. Good deal. All right. What's next?
This is kind of fun. This is a power supply. And if we go, I believe, to the next picture, you're going to have some fun. Oh, nope, that's not it. We'll see it in just a minute then.
Sorry. I tried to put them in order, but I got them.
Yeah, I know you did. That's okay. Not a problem. Power supplies and heat. And you're going to see a little later on what heat can cause. So we can go to the next picture and talk about that, and we'll come back to this. This is kind of a neat idea for helping untechnical or limited technical people. All of these status lights are helpful, and as an engineer, you know what they're meaning, or which ones are supposed to be on, which ones are supposed to be off. But let's see if we've got a picture of the reinforcements next. Nope, this is more of them. But this is what you do. You buy a box of these reinforcements for $2, and you peel one of those off and stick it over all of the LEDs that are important, that you need the operator to look at for you. So the point here, a number of years ago, I know you both have worked with Power Rocks. They had a number of LEDs that had to be on in order for the transmitter to operate. But if you didn't go looking in the transmitter very regularly, you wouldn't remember which ones needed to be on. And it was back deep inside a card cage, and it was hard to see. Putting the little reinforcements, the paper reinforcements on there, allows you to identify this particular LED needs to be seen, or this one is the one that we want you to read. So on the previous slide, where you've got all of these warning lights and status lights, you pick out which ones are important. That way you put a reinforcement over that, and you know that that's one that needs to be looked at by the operator when they go to the transmitter site.
Okay, so this picture doesn't have those reinforcement rings on there,
but it just shows them.
But it's just a good way to say, hey, this one's important, that one's important. Yeah. I guess
Kirk, I'll give you an example. Excuse me, I'll give you a real quick example on this one there with the local control. How many times have we left and left a remote control in local instead of in remote control.
Oh,
So
I've
Never.
never
I've
done
never
that.
done that.
sure
No, never.
Ever, ever, ever.
that's never happened to any of us, has it? So I guess the point
Oh,
is
no.
that little things like that can be little reminders that, hey, you don't ever want this light to be red. It always has to be green when you leave the
Yeah.
transmitter building.
Yep. Good. What I was going to say is on that picture, on the picture with the black panel and just about 8 lights. If Suncast
Mhm.
wants to pop that one back up again, you could take a picture of it operating normally, and if there's room on the front of the transmitter, and I think there may be on that transmitter, print that picture and stick it right above there. This is what it should look like. If it's different, I need to know about it.
Great idea.
So that. There are we're operating in a world where we have really smart engineers, like Chris Tarr, and then we have people who operate the radio station who are we can't expect them to even have a modicum of technical knowledge. We'd like for them to. I've helped several people recently just set up their VO studios, and I've helped them remotely, and I'm just amazed at how much they really, really, really don't know. And they're good people, and they try, but this is not their bailiwick, not even a little
Sure.
bit. And so to be able to give them a picture of what it should look like, that may be helpful. Okay.
Good.
All right. What's next there, Mr. Suncast? Oh, what?
This is my favorite.
What?
We're going to talk about safety first at the transmitter site. Whether you're on a roof or on a tower, you don't want to put the rope that's supposed to hold you around your neck.
Wow.
Oh. I have no words. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I
hope
know.
that
Well,
poor
that's
man,
why
I hope that poor man
that's
is
the
okay.
last picture, Kurt. Really. But that's why it's the last picture.
Oh my goodness. I didn't realize we'd made it through the whole stack that quickly. Oh my goodness. Well, tell you what, actually, this is great timing. This is great timing. We may, Suncast, save that picture. We may bring it back up and have a little more discussion about it before the show is over. Hey, coming up, John Bisset and Chris Tarr and I are going to talk about Chris Tarr's recent adventure on the road. And I'm sure we'll all have some comments about it, but we want to hear what was Chris doing driving this vehicle for 2,800 miles. That's coming up on This Week in Radio Tech next. Hey, our show is brought to you in part by Broadcasters General Store and Innovonics. And they've got this new device. It's the Model 677 Triple Tuner, something that our industry really needed. And I know they've had a couple. I want to say, Crown has made one, and I thought I heard that they're no longer making that one. I put one of those in about a year ago, but this one from Innovonics, the 677, is really cool. We've got a video about it to show. So Suncast, if you're ready, let's look at that video real quick.
The 677 Triple Tuner is a monitor receiver in a compact half-rack package. It has 3 built-in SDR-based frequency agile tuners, each one programmable for AM, FM, or weather band reception. Each receiver has a balanced monaural XLR output to provide audio to an EAS monitor or off-air monitor throughout the broadcast facility. It has self-logging alarms that constantly check for audio loss, low signal, RDS-PI mismatch, and EAS alert tones. Online alarm notifications alert personnel with email or SMS messages. The dynamic web interface provides control and monitoring remotely via any web-enabled device. In addition, the 677 has remote listening available via a web stream. It allows up to 10 simultaneous stream listeners, and SNMP is fully supported. Of course, the most important feature for any radio receiver is its reception quality. The 677 handles this like a pro by incorporating a modern SDR-based design for excellent signal-to-noise ratios and rejection even in the most challenging conditions. The 677 is simple to set up with front panel OLED menu and jog wheel, giving you access to 3 selectable tuners. In addition, a built-in web server provides expanded remote setup, operation control, and remote audio monitoring via internet stream. On the front of the 677, there's an LED bar meter to indicate audio output levels, a headphone jack, and LED alarm indicators for each receiver. There's a large OLED display and jog wheel with intuitive menus for easy setup of the 3 receivers and editing over all programming parameters.
That is so cool. The Model 677 from Innovonics, and I love the thing with the SNMP. Chris Tarr is loving it, and with the remote streaming, you can hear the quality of your EAS assignments to make sure that they're okay, that nothing's gone wrong, the antenna hadn't blown off the roof or something like that. And then you've got the outputs to go feed your EAS box, your EAS monitor decoder box. Check it out, and of course, when you check it out, you can buy it and get a really good deal on it from Broadcasters General Store. In fact, I think with our new stations in Hawaii, we're picking up one of these boxes, the 677 from BGS. The website, bgs.cc, bgs.cc, and just a bunch of people standing by, ready by the phones to help you out, to get you a good, quick quote with sharp pencils. And they can even tell you a lot about the shipping. When's it going to arrive? Because they are in daily touch with most manufacturers about shipping times. So check it out. Thanks a lot to Broadcasters General Store and Innovonics for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. All right, gentlemen, we've got some time. We were hoping we would, and we do, to talk about Chris's trip. Chris, you want to kind of set it up here and give us a little outline of what the mission was?
Sure. So we've been on a mission to replace all of our tube type transmitters, but we can't afford obviously all new solid states. So I keep my eyes peeled for used solid state rigs, and sure enough, something came up in Bay City, Texas, for a Nautel V10. So we inquired about it, and it turns out that this gentleman, really interesting guy. He's from New Zealand, and he bought these 3 stations in Bay City. It turns out, he said, well, you know what? I have a bunch of gear either that, we've taken out from other stations, or that I've bought with the idea originally when I bought these stations of putting this stuff in, and never did. So he rattled off what he had, and he's like, well, I'll tell you what we have, and we'll come up with a price, and we'll go from there. So it turns out he had 2 V10 transmitters, a V5 transmitter, several Mosley Starlinks, a couple of audio processors, a couple of consoles, and some other random stuff. And so, it wasn't cheap. We spent a lot of money for this gear, but then, okay, how do we get it home? So that's where the fun came in. We talked about it, and a lot of times, when they're far away, I tend to just have them packed and shipped with a less than load shipper, a truck and that sort of thing. But there was a lot of stuff here, and some of it was, odd shaped or with consoles and things like that. And we determined it would be cheaper to do it ourselves. So I looked at it as kind of a little vacation. So what I did is I rented a car to drive down, and took 2 days. It was supposed to be about an 18-hour drive if I did it straight. And I'm not as young as I used to be, so I didn't really want to do that. So I rented a car, drove down halfway, spent the night in Jonesboro, then finished the second leg down in Bay City, spent a night or 2 nights there, and then did the reverse in a U-Haul truck. Now, the situation down there is they had just gotten hit by a Hurricane Beryl. And what happened was the hurricane came through, and I delayed my trip a little bit. Hurricane came through last Monday. And so I delayed my trip. I was going to leave Monday and come back on Friday. Instead, I ended up leaving Wednesday and coming back on Sunday. But, there was still issues down there with power and a lot of still water. And the hotel I was in, you could tell the power had been out for a long time. It was pretty musty and humid in there. So it made it a little bit interesting. But I saw something really neat. And I wanted to share this too, is they have a storage facility, because they're in a strip mall kind of thing, their stations. And they don't really have a work area anywhere in any of their transmitter sites or anything. So they rent a storage facility, and they have a big old single phase 220 outlet wired in, and they have a jumper, and it's big enough, it's climate controlled. They can actually test transmitters in there. And so that's what they did is when we went to pick up the transmitters, they fired each one of them up for us. They wired it in the storage facility, turned it on, and showed us that each transmitter worked. So that was fantastic. So what we did is then got a forklift and put each one on a pallet, loaded it up in the U-Haul. I rented a bunch of the packing quilts or whatever, and wrapped everything up and brought it all back, and had a forklift at the other end and unloaded everything into our garage. And next we'll take them out one at a time and put them where they're going. But I mean, it kind of goes to show that if you look, you can find these deals. So this will be with the addition of these three, will have been now 6 used solid state transmitters that we've bought. All been in great shape. All of them have worked really, really well. But these transmitters are finally getting to the age where people are starting to replace them, especially with smaller rack mount versions or whatever. Which in our case, going from tube, we may not get the savings of jumping right to a small 2-rack unit device, but we certainly are going to, save just going from tube to solid state just in tube costs. So we've been very, very fortunate to, find some pretty good deals on these transmitters. And, these are all transmitters models that I'm familiar with and everything else. So I'm very comfortable with them. So yeah, it was really interesting. The guy basically said, "Go shopping. Here's my room full of stuff. Pick what you want. We'll work out a deal." And I think I don't want to get too in detail, but it was north of $50,000 worth of stuff that we bought. So yeah, it was great. And again, met some really nice people. Heard some good and not so good radio. In Texarkana, it was like an episode of Cops. I saw 2 meth heads pounding at each other as I was driving through the U-Haul. So that was fun. But yeah, so yeah, it was a real interesting trip. And again, it was, it was still, even when it's all said and done with meals and hotels and rentals, it was cheaper than trying to get them packed and moved. On our own, with a third party. So we ended up ahead of the game, and I got a nice little vacation out of it. So that was my excitement. I am glad. I was really glad to see that U-Haul in the rearview mirror. Did you know in the new U-Hauls, there are no cruise controls in them?
Oh, wow.
That was a pain trying to get. Fortunately, they've adjusted the speed limiters. So like in Texas where the speed limit's 75, at least you can do 75. But boy, did your foot get tired after a while holding that pedal down. I'll tell you what. It was
Chris,
crazy.
Was there any particular procedure that you went through in moving the transmitters, removing things before you loaded them up? Like when we do tube transmitters, sure, you pull out the caps and the tubes and stuff like that. But right, with these solid state units, I think our viewers might want to know about that.
Sure. The answer is a solid it depends. With BEs, I moved a 10C, didn't remove the modules on that one. I had a 201 FMI, which is a 3 kilowatt BE. I did remove the modules out of there. With the V10s and the V5, I left them in, and it makes them very heavy. I mean, they're 900 pounds with the modules in them. But with Nautel, once you kind of balance the bias on everything, you really don't want to mix those up. So I felt it was probably a better deal to leave them in. And the connectors on the Nautels are pretty solid. So you don't have to worry about that. Same with the power supplies. All that stuff screws in. And it's very they're very sturdy. So generally I leave, we'll take the exciters out, but generally the modules stay in.
Okay.
Good question. Chris, yeah, you said on your trip you heard good radio and bad. You want anything particularly good? Where a market where everybody had RDS on, the HDs were working, it wasn't goofy. Did you find any good markets like that?
Obviously, Houston was good. I had to drive through Houston. Yeah. Shreveport was pretty good. There were a couple of local highlights, where the station sounded really good. It was, of course, like any radio guy, I drive through and I see towers on the sides of the roads, and I kind of make mental notes and go back and look to see what stations they were, and that sort of thing. But it was just interesting to hear, how radio is done in other places, and how RDS is handled and those sorts of things. So it's always just interesting to see other people do it.
I got in fact, I think he posted it on Facebook. I got a picture from Larry Fuss today. He's in Maui, and he took a picture of one of the competing radio stations to the ones that we just bought. And the RDS display on there said RDS.
I had
on
one
the rental car.
I had one that
Yeah.
I had one that went crazy and in Innovonics that I needed to reboot, and I wasn't there. It was showing KRDS for the call sign.
Oh my gosh! Wow. So, it seems to me very valuable, Chris, that you went there in person, even though you thought about, because you got to go shopping. You got to have that last look at stuff and see, is there anything else that might be valuable to your employer.
Not only that, but this storage facility that they had a dummy load and power. So the engineer down there turned on every transmitter for me so I could see them work. So that too was fantastic. And these are very nice. I mean, these things were in excellent condition, but he was able to fire them up and run them at full power so I could see them work. And, again, I know these transmitters really well, so I could see all the readings and check, all the different things. So that alone was worth the trip. I wouldn't have been able to do that had we had it shipped. So that was worth it just for that.
Wow. And so obviously you're going to be putting this gear to use. Did you buy anything just because it was a good deal and you were there, or you got a place for everything that you bought?
Some of the stuff we bought because it was a great deal, and we'll find places for them. I mean, we're, as my coworker Dave likes to say, we have an embarrassment of riches sometimes. We have, we'll basically filter it down. We are going to have sometime this year, hopefully. I've got a bunch of gear that we're going to sell. Just some older gear that we've replaced with some of this newer stuff. And again, when you buy as many radio stations as we do, we have gear all over the place. We just have rooms full of it. So, basically what we did is we looked at some of the stuff and went, okay, they'll do, there's newer things that we can replace older things with that I saw them having, I saw sitting there. I went, okay, let's get that because that'll replace this. And Dave was actually down there with me writing the check. And, that's the thing that's the thing we both did is we kind of discussed it and went, okay, well, is this something that's worthwhile? And, he has a couple of things that he really likes to have. He's a big fan of, like Symmetrix 528Es. We don't really use them, but he likes them. So, we picked up one of those at a great deal. So, but there was a lot of stuff, and it actually helped the guy a lot. It's a small group of stations, and he was, obviously, revenue's low everywhere. So it was he basically the way he put it is, I was going to list all this stuff, but if you want to make a, big deal, and write me a big check, that's great. And, we'll save you some money. And, we were able to help him out with a little infusion of some funds too. So everybody won in this deal. It was pretty good.
I want to hear more about this. Maybe one day we'll weave in some pictures from your adventure and what you've been doing lately. Hey, it's This Week in Radio Tech with Kirk Harnack, Chris Tarr, and John Bisset is our guest. We're going to give John the last word in our tip of the week in just a few minutes. Right now, though, Chris, going to give you a quick breather, but going to expect to hear from you in a minute about Angry Audio. Right now, I want to remind you about my favorite way to connect, and that's Max Connect Wireless. Max Connect, these work great. These 4G LTE modems where you get prioritized high-speed internet data in places where you might not expect an LTE modem to work very well. These have saved my cookies several times, and some people use them all the time at transmitter sites. You can use it for a full-time STL. But you might, most people use it for lesser data for transmitter sites for remote broadcasts. Hey, you go to an unknown sporting event, you don't know necessarily how good the coverage is there of whatever your favorite carrier is. Well, and especially when you got an arena, a high school gym, an arena, a stadium full of people, you don't know how much connectivity you're going to have. So Max Connect Wireless gives you prioritized cellular data. So you can connect, you can do your show. We've done the TWiRT show several times with Max Connect. And here's one way that I use this. I have a station that I do some volunteer work for in Memphis. It's WEVL. And they had to go to an IP-based STL. They didn't have a choice. We went to an IP base. We went to the micro MPX using Omnia MPX nodes. And it wasn't on the air for very long before the cable company had a major outage, like 4 days worth of no internet. So I got down there lickety split with my Max Connect box, got them on the air within really 20 minutes of getting there, and kept them on the air throughout their fundraiser. They were just ever so grateful. And also I've used this same one, actually used this one, a little different 4G LTE modem, at my own transmitter site. We had arranged for fiber internet to be there literally 6 weeks before. And they promised it would be there, and of course the promise was broken. It wasn't there. It was another 2 weeks before we got our fiber internet. So Max Connect saved the day and let us get all. This is the station where all of our automation systems, everything is at the transmitter site, and this saved the day. You can check it out at Max Connect. I know it's spelled funny. MaxConnect.com. This is their wireless division, because now they do a lot of things. And hey, whichever's your favorite carrier, you can get prioritized data on your favorite carrier, AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon. You can even get a 4G LTE modem that holds 2 different SIM cards. So if one carrier is a little lacking where you are, you can go to a different carrier and make sure that one works. Love this box. Josh Bone and his company, Max Connect, have put together a really valuable service here. By the way, you always get a static IP address with this service. So there's no guessing at what the IP address is going to be, which also means you can whitelist those IP addresses. If you've got a remote Burke remote control, you can whitelist that IP address from which that remote control is going to be talking, and thereby keep your network much more secure that way. Thanks a lot, Max Connect, for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. And now Chris Tarr is along. He hasn't talked enough today. He's going to tell you about Angry Audio. Chris, what you talking about today?
Well, really, really quick with Max Connect, I'll tell you, I keep one in the car. Mm-hmm. And, same thing. We had an IP radio go down, and I had, out of town, but I happened to have one in the back of the Jeep and grabbed it and got him back on the air. I do the same thing sometimes with, computers. And so I always keep one. Even if I get rid of one at a site, I'll get another one as a spare, just to always have one with me, because you never know when you're going to use it. So again, Max Connect, great stuff. So let me tell you about Angry Audio and some of the gadgets and gizmos that they have. Let's talk studio lights. These really neat Towie lights. We've seen them before, the brushed aluminum ones, and if you've looked into the price of them, they are not cheap. They're really nice aluminum stackable lights. They're a little pricey. They're very nice, and if you can afford them, then they're great. But what if you don't want to have that you spend that kind of money, you don't have that in the budget? Angry Audio has got you covered. They've got the same thing. This is done in black plastic for the base and everything, but they are the same kind of LED, stackable LEDs. You can do whatever colors you want. You can send visual messages by just what color light is on, and you can stack them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 3, 1. You buy the base and then whatever colors you want to stack onto that. Now you're asking, how do you wire those up? Now it used to be, if you bought the aluminum ones, you had to buy some sort of like the super relay or something like that in order to fire these up in the colors that you want. Angry Audio, they solve problems. They've got the Signal Light Gadget. And what the Signal Light Gadget does is that controls the lights. And you can tie it into your automation system or to your audio over IP console. You can set it to auto, on, off. And the auto mode takes a closure and turns on the light. And you can see on the with this device, they have the different colors separated out, and then they've got the relays on the back that you can wire into your console or your phone system, whatever you want for a tally, and you can control each one of these lights. A really, really simple, clean, and easy way to get these light bars running instead of using, again, the super relay and trying to hand wire all this stuff, which can be done if, you got a lot of time on your hands, and if you're like me, you don't. and that's where these come in. So just two of the many, many solutions you're going to find online with the gadgets, gizmos of Angry Audio. Of course, they've got the Rave console, they've got the audio processors, they have the C6S software now. So all kinds of fun stuff. Check them out online, angryaudio.com. You can pick up their stuff from your favorite broadcast retailer and get the problems solved. All these little problems, they disappear when you get angry at angryaudio.com.
Thanks, Chris. Love Angry Audio. Was chatting by text with Catfish just today. So, all right, it is our final quick segment here. We got a couple of minutes, and that's it. And John Bisset, I hope you've been standing by, postulating on a tip of the week for us, because that's what I need you for right now, buddy.
I've got one for you, Kirk, but it's going to be going to kind of throw you a curve. You got to wait till
Okay.
the August 1st Radio World. Look in Workbench.
Oh,
There is if you have a Sage EAS box, there is a suggestion from Kirk's business partner, Larry Fuss, that is one of the neatest, most usable tips I think we've ever printed. And that's all I'm going to tell you about. So you're going to have to wait for that Radio World to show up or get online.
I got a preview of that. You're right. It's going to be great.
Isn't that neat? Talk about saving time and
cool.
saving money.
I'll without giving it away at all, I will preview that it's really nice when manufacturers listen to their customers' suggestions and say, you know what? I think we can make that happen. So,
Absolutely.
Yep. Absolutely.
So yeah, we'll look for that to come out. Chris, you got anything for us real quick?
No.
In terms of, okay. Well, I do. Years ago, I bought this non-skid. It's what do you call adhesive on the back? You peel adhesive peel off, and it's this sandpapery non-skid like you'd put on your skateboard. If I was a skateboarder, I could cut this out and lay it on my big old skateboard. I'm not a skateboarder. You could use this as non-slip, like on flooring, on stairs. But you can also you can see I've just cut out little chunks of it here and there to put on different things that I just want to have a better grip on. Life not being one of them. Wouldn't it be great if there was non-slip for life? Get a better grip on life. But no, I love this phone case right here. It's sexy, and it's masculine. It's leather or leather-like. It's very nice, but it's a little slippery. And so I don't know if I can see this or not, but I put some non-slip on the edge of it right there. I could have done a neater job. But yeah, and so now when I grab it, it's more sure in my hand. You might have some tools that would be, it'd be good if you had some non-slip on the side, on the edge of the tool. Anything you need to grab and grasp, and there you go. That's my tip of the week. Any comment from the peanut gallery?
Very nice. Very nice.
No, that's a great idea.
Be sure you
Can I
use
put it
alcohol.
on my sanity? My sanity is starting to slip. No? No?
No. No, they should put that on the little horses out in front of the Kroger store that you put a quarter in and the horsey moves. They should put some grippy on that, so the kid doesn't fall off.
So they fall off. Right?
But, to launch them is pretty funny, but, I suppose we don't want to do that.
Oh, Chris, thank you very much for giving us your tales of your adventure. It's good
Sure.
to hear. Well, glad you're back safely. John Bisset, thank you for, you save up all this good stuff. It's almost like we got a best of Workbench. Oh, John, we just got a minute left. Tell our listeners and viewers, if they have a tip or an idea to pass on to you, they're going to get some credit for it. They can actually get some SBE credit for it. How do they get in touch with you to turn that in?
Absolutely. Real quick email, very simple. JOHN, the letter P as in Paul, BISSET. So John P. Bisset at gmail.com. Send those to me, and we'll see about getting them in Workbench. And Kirk, let me tell you, folks, nothing is too simple. I get so many guys that will say, oh, everybody knows that. No, they don't. you may know it because you've known it for 20 years, but just think about all the new folks that have come onto the scene now that need to learn these tips. So if you've got an old tip that has worked out well for you, send it to me. Let me be the judge whether or not we print it. We probably will print it because there's a lot of knowledge out there. People need to know this stuff, and you're the ones that are helping to spread it. So thank you very much for your contributions over the years.
And not only thank you, John Bisset, but I want to thank Paul McLean for keeping you going as a columnist in Radio World. I think it takes everybody working together. The people that contribute to you editing them and writing them out and getting them into good readable form, and then Paul McLean to publish those. So thanks a lot to everybody involved. All right, we got to say goodbye. And thanks.
Really good.
He does.
Sorry.
Back when I used to. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say Paul makes the column look great, and we do appreciate that.
Yeah, he does. All right, folks, we got to go. We'll see you. Big thanks to Suncast for getting all our pictures on board, and we will see you next week on This Week in